He is winning a game, so he's on the Twitch stream tonight, and I think it's pretty fun that I get to do something that Dad does all the time, which is come on the internet and yap with people, but also with my son. So that's kind of fun.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, Jolly, for being here, and I'm
Thanks
pretty
for
sure
having me.
John is going to be the best gamer tonight. So,
you
all right,
the kid's got it all figured out, though, dude. It's not your fault.
Yeah, no, I'm going to die so many times. I'm going to lose so many times. It's going to be very entertaining. Okay, is it up? Do we need to reintroduce ourselves for the Twitch and YouTube audiences? Because I'm just getting it in now that that did not translate.
Okay, yes, yeah. So let's go ahead and do it again real quick. Logan, one of the hosts here with 5051. Grateful to be here with you guys for the No Kings Overwatch stream. It's gonna be a blast. What can I say? You're gonna have two people that know what they're doing in this game. Everyone else has no clue what they're doing in this game. That being said, it will be entertaining. You'll absolutely have some good convo, and we're so glad you're here with us. My other co-host here is Hunter. Hunter, do you want to go ahead and take it away and do some intros for us?
Yeah. Hi, I'm Hunter Dunn. I'm 5051's National Press Coordinator, well, co-national press coordinator. I'm here with Logan, also from 5051. We're going to be co-hosting and doing our best to not be totally destroyed by the actual good gamers on this. Well, if there's not anything else, let's introduce the whole team. Let's start this time with the only person I can see on my screen right now, which is Jolly. Jolly Good Ginger. You is probably the one person on here that you already know. If you're coming in from his audience or you're coming in from our YouTube, Jolly, would you like to introduce yourself?
Yes, happy to be here. I love what No Kings does. We know that, and I'm glad that everybody's joining us. Like I said earlier, these guys asked me if I would come join their gamer Twitch stream, and I was like, bro, I'm not a gamer. I'm just an old redneck. I can't game for shit. But my son, this just so happens to be a game he plays a lot of, Overwatch. So I offered a compromise. Hey, what if my son plays and I just come talk with you guys? And they agreed. And I think it's awesome that I get to do something I do every day, which is come on the internet and yap with people. And my son gets to join me this time. So that's cool. Thanks for having me.
We're so happy that you're joining us today, Jolly. And next up, we got Glow, who I can also see. Glow is a comms coordinator for 5051 and the co-founder of Political Revolution. The other co-founder is actually helping run and manage some of the tech that you're seeing right now. Take it away, Glow.
Hey, thanks for having me. I'm really excited to be here with everybody. I will be the only pregnant lady to my knowledge on the stream, unless Logan is keeping a secret. But no, yeah, I'm happy to be here.
Hey, that means there's two people on Glow's team, so I'm pretty sure she has the objective advantage.
Yeah, she's got the advantage.
Next up is Diogenes, or Dio. Can you come in and speak?
Hello, hello. I will say, just like everybody else, I normally play single player games. So we're going to see how this one turns out.
Hey, the only game I have played besides practicing for this and mobile games is straight up Jedi Survivor. So don't worry. I don't think you could possibly worse than I'm going to be. Thank you for being with us. And thank you for being the lead host for the game. And finally, Viffy. Viffy, can you unmute and introduce yourself to our audience? I'm sure you're
Hello, everybody. I'm Viffy. I'm a top 500 Overwatch player and streamer, and I'm just happy to be here.
So that translates to Viffy is going to just demolish us for everybody out there.
Top 5 is crazy.
I don't know.
500, 500.
Oh,
I'm not
I
that
was 500. I was like, damn.
I played once as the hamster, and I'm pretty confident. So
well, 500 is pretty dope.
I don't know. She sounds pretty confident on the hamster.
Cool. Yeah. So yeah, why don't we go ahead and get it kicked in and going? Hunter, anything else before we kick it off and start embarrassing ourselves?
Not that I can think so. I'm just testing my mic to make sure it's 100% correct. Dio, are we all good on the gaming side? Because I believe you're the one who has to hit all the buttons to make us start fighting each other.
Peacefully. Yeah, we've got everybody in the party, so let's see how it goes.
Cool. All right, Jaden, let's go. I mean, son. His name's Jaden. All right, fuck it. We know his name now.
Jay.
Let me find my Men in Black, like the memory eraser thing.
Yeah. Just stare at the screen real briefly.
Like that, you didn't see this with the little. Yeah, you heard nothing. You did not.
All right, that's okay. Now that you know his name, we need some hashtag Team Jaden in the chat.
Yeah. Hashtag Team J. Yeah. All right, let's do it. Oh, see it. Wow. We're going to be playing against some actual people on the internet. It's going to be entertaining. Yeah, while we kick this off, we're obviously going to keep the convo going. With that, we'll definitely go ahead and ask some questions between me, Hunter, everybody else. Definitely going to be informal, so just feel free to riff, talk, not a big deal. Make commentary on how horrible we are. Looks
And
like we're
also,
searching.
one of our moderators, who is going by the name Quetzal, I believe, is going to be keeping track of some of the really interesting questions we get about the upcoming No Kings National Day of Nonviolent Action on 3/28. So while we're chatting about it, occasionally we're going to actually get a question or two directly from the audience, which is going to be hopefully fantastic, though we will see how it goes on our end, of course. Right now, I am still waiting for. Yeah, we're still searching for a game. That's what I see on my screen. Is that what you guys see on your screens?
Yep.
All right.
And if we have to, we can just do a quick play.
That too. That might actually be a lot faster if we just do a quick play. Oh, we're doing 6v6. We're playing against people live on the internet. Okay.
No,
yeah.
we're actually gonna play each other now. Uh-oh.
Oh no. This even.
Oh God. I'm gonna apologize. Okay, Kings Row. Here we go. Oh, there's a Christmas tree.
Shouldn't we call it No Kings Row?
No Kings Row, that's right. We're taking it back. Okay, see somebody jumping around. What do we got? Okay. It's Christmas time. Yay, capitalism. Okay, there we go. Oh, got him. Oh no,
Oh, you guys are playing now. I can see you playing on the YouTube screen. Come on, Jaden, destroy them. Let me ask you a question, Logan. Do you have a strategy?
I have zero strategy other than to fly around as a cat.
That is almost the same thing that Trump said at a press conference the other day.
When like asked about strategy for Iran, right?
Yeah, I was wondering because when they asked him what's your strategy, one day it's this and this. There's no strategy in this whole thing. That's what makes me the most angry about the Iran thing that we're doing, which is we're at the whims of a wannabe dictator, but real life people are dying, and like not just American service members, but also Iranians, children in school, they're dying, and this guy just talks about it like it's like it's a thing. What do you call it? An excursion.
Wait,
you know how disrespectful that is?
It's insane to me. I mean, you got to remember too, when the rhetoric first started, right, with the actual war, he was just very plain about calling it a war. Right,
yeah,
like
very,
wasn't
very
it
plain.
even and it wasn't even an excursion. I mean, so much so that Marco Rubio said it, he said it,
yep.
People in the GOP said it, and
Yep.
to me, it's just it proves how little actual strategy and coordination is there in the administration itself, but B, it's just so disgusting to the service members, right, of this country.
Well, 1,000%. Like that's what makes me the most angry is having been to Iraq, having been to Afghanistan, having seen what this looks like on the ground, to know that they just, did it this haphazardly. And not that Iraq was a justified war, because it wasn't. It was an occupation. I think most of us can agree with that at this point. But this was even worse. It was just one day, it's almost like this guy woke up and said, well, yeah, let's do it. Let's do the whole Iran thing. And stuck to it. And then listening to, cirrhosis of defense, keg's breath, the most unqualified cabinet member or the most unqualified Secretary of Defense we've ever had. And him to just say, oh, lethality, we're a lethal force, we're going to be lethal. I want to be clear to anybody who gives a shit. The job of the United States military is not to just be lethal. I want to be clear. The job of the military is to defend our homeland and to, neutralize threats against America. That's really our overall stated mission. It's not to just be lethal. If the enemy's injured in combat, we provide them medical care. If there are non-combatants on the battlefield, we are to plan around injuring and killing them, not missing a school twice, full schoolgirls. So we're not just there to be lethal. We are supposed to be the most highly trained military in the world. They love throwing around that we're the strongest, biggest military. This we're also very highly trained and trained in compassion, trained in you know battlefield planning, intelligence preparation of the battlefield. It's called IPB, which is how you avoid and minimize these civilian casualties, et cetera, et cetera. So when I hear whiskey leaks get on TV and talk about how lethal we are, and it's all about lethality, and then the other day to say something as gruesome and disgusting as no quarter,
Oh
it,
God.
it just enrages me,
Yeah,
man.
that's the doctrine we're going off of, huh? No quarter. That's your
Yeah.
doctrine.
So like, you guys are veterans and I'm not, but I'm pretty sure that's a war crime, right? Like that
Yes.
is
100% it
objectively
is.
advocate that is the Secretary of Defense advocating for uh, a violation of international law when it comes to a war that already is, yet another evil, endless, forever war in the Middle East, right? Like this is not the first time that we've been in a situation where we like it's questionable why we're in this situation in the first place, but at the very least, there's an expectation that our conduct is going to be at least following the rules of war, and as far as there are any, that we are upholding that level of decorum and respect for human life and the ideals that we're supposed to be standing for as a country, right?
Yeah, I mean, we okay. So for those who may not know this or may not be aware, which is fine, I don't say that in a belittling manner in any way. I mean, back in the mid 20th century, we had a thing called Geneva and Hague Conventions, in which countries got together and we decided how to conduct ourselves in war. What should and should not be considered, I guess, the rules of war. It's called the rule. It's called the law of land warfare, and through this process, developed a set of rules and standards that we're going to live by, not just in warfare, but anytime two countries engage militarily. There's certain things that we follow. For example, like I just mentioned earlier, providing medical aid to injured combatants or injured, military members from the other country that are out of the fight. Like when we sunk that warship recently and watched the sailors drown. That's 100% in violation of Geneva Hague Conventions. It's disgusting. Like when we were shooting the fishermen on the Venezuela coast and then shooting them again when they were floating on wood. Like when we shot a school up. Schools are 100% not viable targets. Like when, you know, we talk about giving no quarter. These are all things that we have agreed with other countries that are, unambiguously not okay. There's not wiggle room. There's not room for interpretation. We cannot do them, and yet we are. And now you got this guy saying, "Oh well, Cuba's next," and then today he hinted at Colombia being next, and for all the parallels there are to Hitler, this is another one, and that being, if you appease him early on to avoid going to war or avoid things escalating, he just takes more and more and more and more. They let Hitler have the Sudetenland, then he went for Czechoslovakia, then he went for Poland, then there was on after that. Trump's doing the same shit.
Yeah, I totally hear that, right? You see the parallels. I actually wrote my, before I was doing this, I was in college. This started my senior year, and I wrote my political honors thesis about the rise of what was called post-liberalism in the United States and how that connected direct. Sorry, that's sort of like an academic buzzword. Better way to explain it is there's a group of like philosophers and thinkers who are close friends with the Vice President J.D. Vance, so they influence him in various ways and influence other members of this administration. They started writing it before they took power, but now they have taken power, and it sort of tracks the ideological trends and the belief systems and the justifications for why political actors act the way that they do. And it traces it back to a guy called Oswald Spengler, who wrote a bunch of books called like Decline of the West and The Hour of Decision, And the same fear mongering and the same lies being spread about immigrants and also foreign countries are the same things that you saw during Nazi Germany, like Jolly is saying, or during other fascist regimes like Franco, Mussolini, and other authoritarians, and we're seeing the same things playing out today. But let's not just focus on one issue, because something that we've noticed is that there's so many things happening all at the same time. And Dio, if I can call on you for a second, man, you every time that I've talked to you about what's happening in this country when it comes to immigration, when it comes to how Donald Trump is, and how this administration as a whole is handling immigrant rights, you have a really good insight to that. So, Dio, if you want to talk about your perspective on that.
Yeah, I mean, it's just something that they are trying to take advantage of every little loophole that's been set up over years and years to try and just make this a lot more difficult on everybody to try and do stuff within the legal system to get them out or to protect immigrants, and in order to strip them of rights systematically so that they can just get them out. Like, it's abhorrent, in my opinion, of what they're doing with that. It's completely tearing down our legal system that we've had and taking advantage of every little thing that they can.
I mean, that's a great analysis, and it really, hearing that, like, does make my chest sink, and I also just fell off a ledge in the game, so somehow what you were saying affects me in both ways. But, I mean, God, there's so many issues all at once, like, Glow or Viffy or Logan, I mean, like, when we talk about this administration, when we talk about, like, what you think the worst elements of it are, or how it's affecting you or people around you, like, what really sticks out to y'all?
Go ahead. I've talked a lot. I'd like to hear from Glow.
Oh yeah, no worries. So I have a friend um who was really impacted by the most recent strikes in Iran, and I'm married to an immigrant, and like I think the thing that scares me the most is just like people um are so ready to dehumanize like their fellow humans. Like um it's so easy to find an excuse that like, oh well, um well, they're not the same religion as me. We're gonna see, or a rise in Islamophobia. And I was raised Christian, but I raised my son as like basically like your heart is the same as everybody else's heart. Everybody, even if you practice a different religion, um, that doesn't matter. Like, we should all love and love our neighbor, which is what Jesus teaches. But unfortunately, like we live in a country where it's so common to see people focus on what they perceive to be um, the negatives of a different race, different ethnicity, different religion. When in reality, like we're all humans and we're all, a lot of this religions preach the same message of just like love your neighbor. So I hope people can, you know, um, just really take that to heart. I don't know. It's really sad.
Yeah, I sorry, like speaking like as someone who is currently religious, right? Like I consider myself a Christian. Glow, I know you know this because we've talked about it before. But Jolly and Biffy probably don't. Although I certainly don't see things eye to eye with some Christian people. Like no matter what faith or moral system that you hold, right? Like if you're not a person who's in an incredible amount of power, it's one of the fundamental tenets that almost every person holds is that you're supposed to like love and care for other people, right? And when you see the way that this administration isn't doing that, well, personally speaking, that's why I'm involved in stuff like No Kings and other ways of organizing my community to stand up and peacefully try to defend my neighbors, try to defend the people around me that I'm seeing being mistreated by this administration, which sort of kind of kicks off into like No Kings, what it is and why we're all here, right? Why we're playing a video game. while talking about something. It's to help reach a different audience who maybe hasn't heard about this. But I don't know who wants to jump on this, but like whether it's Viffy or Logan or Jolly or Chloe or whomever, like when you hear No Kings, like what does that mean to you? Like from just like the base understanding of the term.
Yeah, I'll tell you when I first saw the first No Kings um, movement or not movement, but rally that got started. Real quick, before I even say that, do we purposely have comments off on YouTube, or is that maybe a setting we can change?
I think that's a setting issue.
Oh yeah, because I think
It's purposeful just because we don't have mods there right now.
oh, okay, fair. Okay, so
Yep.
if you're on YouTube and you want to comment, you got to go to Twitch.
Yeah, or you can join the 5051 Discord if you want.
There you go. So I'm just trying to help the people over there that are wanting to leave comments. So when I first saw that it was being called No Kings, I liked it. I'm gonna tell you why, because this is something that I've spoken about over the past 20 years a million times. And what I always refer to when I'm talking about our country, the Constitution, the foundation, I try to emphasize to people that the framers of the Constitution, because I don't call them founding fathers, I just want everyone to know that I think language is important, and calling them founding fathers makes me want to vomit in my own throat.
Yep.
So, the framers of the Constitution, one thing they were emphatic about was how do we avoid a monarchy? So, a lot of, and this goes back to the Articles of Confederation, if you haven't taken the time or haven't had the opportunity to go read the debates that were had that led up to the Articles of Confederation and then led up to eventually the Constitution, I encourage you to take the time to read those debates, to read the letters from Madison and Jefferson and the back and forth that happened there. There's a lot to take away there, and it gives you a lot of contextual understanding of why the Constitution was written the way it was written. And you're going to find a very large portion of what they did was to prevent a monarchy. And I find it ironic that this same crowd that were, is voting MAGA, they bring up the Second Amendment a lot. Ironically, the Second Amendment exists out of a conversation of how do we prevent a monarchy? How do we prevent a king from using a standing military against his own people? And now we got Donald Trump creating a private military to use against his own people by way of ICE. When you really look at a lot of the things that the Constitution and the framers put in place, these kind of checks and balances and these stop gaps, they were all designed to prevent someone from having too much power, from becoming a king. And ironically, we're watching them all fail right now. I like when I hear the right, the conservative, the MAGA crowd respond to the No Kings movement by saying, "Oh, if he was a king, you wouldn't be able to protest right now." If he had his way, we wouldn't. He has stated time and time again that he don't believe people should be able to be allowed to speak negatively about him. He has stated time and time again that people protesting in the street should be dealt with. He talked about shooting us in the legs. He talked about can't we just arrest them all? He used tear gas on peaceful protesters right outside Black Lives Matter Plaza at the St. John's Church there, just to hold a Bible upside down and get a photo op. So when I hear No Kings, I think the messaging there is spot on. I think that if you want to take this American approach and what is America and what is the Constitution, it was the response of a people to having a king. And so we shouldn't have any kings. And the fact is, Donald Trump, by no stretch of the imagination, by no hyperbole, by no overstating, he wants to be an authoritarian. He wants to be a totalitarian. He wants to be a king.
100%. Yeah, I mean, I think that's really interesting too. This slide into fascism, this slide into absolute dictatorship that we're seeing. It's definitely by design, right? I mean, on the part of Trump, Stephen Miller, the entire administration. And the thing that really kind of upsets me the most as a veteran, right, is we take an oath to the Constitution, right? We don't take an oath to a king, to a party. It is to the Constitution of the United States of America. And so when I see these institutions that are made to uphold it, like the Supreme Court, fold, right? It's really, really upsetting. And it truly shows me that, it is we, the people, that have the power. We have to take it back. Right. And I think that that's where we're going to have to, end up really kind of pushing the argument and the narrative. Yeah. Jolly, I think the other thing that I really want to kind of hear your thoughts on, as far as like overall what we've seen within the Supreme Court, I mean, what do you think about that, man, specifically? I mean, because there's been case after case that's been taken to the Supreme Court in terms of it eroding our freedoms as Americans. How do you feel about that, man? Especially as someone that's deployed, right? I want to get your opinion.
I feel like we're watching the results of the long game come to fruition. For so many decades, we didn't take conservatives serious as they stacked that court. We didn't take conservatives serious as they moved towards this white Christian nationalist party that they have now. I have often stated that at the end of the Civil War, a cold civil war began in which the South began to rebuild itself, first under the United Daughters of the Confederacy and the Lost Cause mythology that has continued into right now. And when I see the Supreme Court vote away our rights, when I see the Supreme Court overturn Roe, when I see the Supreme Court, just do all the things it's doing, give Trump immunity and attack the trans community and attack gay marriage and just all the things that were hard fought civil liberties. It enrages me on one hand that they're doing it, but then it also enrages me on the other hand that everybody don't see how it happened. It happened because we didn't take these motherfuckers seriously.
Yep.
That's why it happened. It happened because
Very much
so
so.
many. How long did we say they're going to overturn Roe? They're going to overturn Roe. They're going to overturn Roe. And then Gorsuch and what's her name?
Amy Coney Barrett.
Tony Barrett, thank you.
Yeah.
She got up there. They all swore, "Oh no, I wouldn't touch Roe. There's 70 years of jurisprudence. I wouldn't touch that."
Yeah.
And then of course
Sure.
they did, because
Yeah,
this was
sure.
the plan all along. They are playing for keeps. Meanwhile, the controlled opposition of the Democrats are simply trying. Democrats always want to compromise or meet in the middle, and there comes a point where in a two-party system, the further right they go, the further left you have to go, and stop chasing them
100%.
towards the middle. And
100%.
they don't get it.
I agree with that. And I mean, what's the result there, right? I mean, we see it, right? It's the American working class that gets affected, right? Like full stop. Let's call that out. And I think that we're seeing that. And it's not just the eroding of freedom of the average American day citizen, but it's also, to me, the biggest thing is just this fact that we're talking about decades worth of damage from an economic standpoint. That's going to mean that people can't afford basic housing, basic food, due to essentially these far right, insane pieces of legislation that really favor the corporate class and the billionaire class, not American citizens.
No, agreed.
Hey, also, Logan, that was super elegantly said, which is incredibly impressive because you did it while completely destroying me as a cat in the sky. So I think that just really adds to it. I literally was like, I stopped to listen to you for a second, and then it said eliminated by Logan. Eliminated by Logan. But yeah, you're right. And Jolly, you were saying about like how it didn't seem like elected officials were doing enough to stand up and fight back against this administration, to fight back against the corruption and the lawlessness. And I mean, I completely agree. That's why I started organizing. That's why most of us here part of 5051. That's how we got started. And in a way, that's kind of how No Kings got started. I mean, Glow and Logan, you guys were there on the ground floor, and Dio, so were you, I believe, because I think you help organize locally. You guys
Dio's
talk about like what got us involved. Like what got everyone who was here, like how did you all get involved in the fight? Like I want to hear that. I want to know that because I actually don't know that about all you guys. Like what got you guys involved in the resistance in the first place? Because I got started in like Southern California, but some of you guys are in other parts of the country.
Yeah.
So
Go for it. Yeah. Yeah, Spud. Let's hear it, dude. Sorry, Dia.
No matter. No, so for me, it was immediately after the election. I came home and my sister was laying on the couch, but she was sobbing. And what she asked me was, am I going to have rights anymore? And it's something that I had thought of, but it never actually hit me until that moment. And it's not something I've ever had to worry about myself. So unfortunately, this is the case for a lot. People don't really get involved until they're personally affected, and I am one of those people. I was personally affected, and I mean, now I'm in a much better place as a result of it. I've met a lot of people that have been extremely influential on everything that I do. They've been wonderful friends during some of the hardest times. They do
Yes.
incredible work,
Yes.
and it's been a privilege, really.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, dude, like that's the same here. I got started like after the election. I was just looking for like anything I could do to help, and started getting involved in like different places. I think I signed up for like groups like Progressive Victory and stuff. Did some phone banking, but even before the election, on that front, I was trying to get involved locally. But then I saw like on Instagram, I saw this 50-51 thing. We're all gonna have a protest the same day at the same state at our state capital. I mean, I was nowhere near my state capital, so I was lucky that people want to organize in like other major metros. But then right after that, that's the first time I actually heard of No Kings. There was a much smaller protest before the big No Kings.
I'm sick of
June
your
14th.
cat,
That was called No
Logan.
Kings. Yeah. Okay.
Get
Also,
out of
yeah,
here with your cat shit. I'm so
very
done.
true.
I hate it.
Yeah.
It was the most ridiculous character. That's literally the only reason I chose it. So
Yeah,
I'm
whatever.
so for those of you that don't know, I'm a cat flying around with jetpacks right now.
You just chose this to be cheap. That's what I think.
Yeah, well, I mean, it worked out. It's a cat. It's petty. What do you expect, bro? I mean,
Do we run Kings Row again? Well, okay, it seems we're running Kings Row
I
again.
think we're running Kings Row. I think it's
I'll take
topical.
whatever.
You know, we're talking about the king. We're talking about we got to win, right? We got to
No
win in
Kings,
Row.
no Kings taking him down. So Glow, I want to hear about you. Like, what was your deal like as far as you getting involved too?
Like now or like 10 years ago or like
Whenever. I know you've been in the game for a while. Just go ahead and spill it out. What do you got?
um well, I was a Bernie organizer in 2015. Um and I don't know if I'm an elder millennial. I would have to have like
What year
a
are you born?
person 93.
No,
I'm not elder. Okay.
no.
Yeah, I'm 84.
feel
Yeah.
I identify with
You're
like a
damn
lot
near
of Gen
Gen
Z
Z.
stuff, but yeah, so okay, thank you. That's actually validating, but I've had Gen Z people call me boomers, so I'm like, I don't
No.
know. I have an identity
I'm an
crisis
elder
about it.
millennial.
Look,
I have an identity crisis about it.
I'm 23. I told you guys this, I think, the other day, but everyone in this resistance is like either they're my age, they're late 20s, or they're in their 30s. And I reject any other answer. Any physical evidence for how old you guys are is untrue. You guys are all late Gen Z, okay? Like you can't prove it to me.
I have
The
gray
birth
hair,
certificates are
so
forged.
I don't really know.
I'm an elder millennial. I was born in '83.
See, I get confident when I'm fighting with just you guys because I do good, but then when we play with other people, I'm like, oh, I actually suck. So,
I believe it's called
anyways,
the skill mismatch, and I'm there with you.
Um,
but yeah, no. So I got involved like 10 years ago and with Bernie, and I don't know if anybody remembers this place called Sanders for President on Reddit. Um, but I was a moderator of Sanders for President, and then after Bernie's campaign ended, me and some of the moderators founded Political Revolution, and the goal is to help support progressives at that time. And the the quote unquote revolution was a lot more about, kind of getting young people elected, which we still need to do, but it was, I don't know, I feel like the game has definitely changed. And like, I actually met my husband in 2017. So my husband Karsh, he was a volunteer for Political Revolution, and then we just kind of like lived our lives. But then last year, 5051 was also founded on Reddit. So we just happened to be in the same like ecosystem um and started organizing again. And I don't know, here we are, and now I'm playing Overwatch with you guys. Cool.
There you go.
Oh,
What
hell
else
yeah,
you-
brother.
What else
All
you-
roads lead to being destroyed by the cat.
What, the cat's getting destroyed right now, I'll tell you.
Go
Maybe
over the
London
cat.
Kings Row maybe ain't the one for the cat. Who knows?
See, I think I was playing a tank earlier because I'm very baffled by me getting one shot. And I'm like, I don't think that's what was supposed to happen. So clearly I am maybe not very good as a flanker. And I died again. And I'm done again. Immediately, as I say it, some guy runs up to me and boom, gone. You know? It's kind of like organizer burnout, how fast it comes on.
I'm going back to the
Organ-
hamster.
Real. That's real. So, Jolly, what about you, man? Why don't you tell us how you got involved?
Back when I was a teenager, kind of came to the realization that, you know, I was a racist and everybody around me was a bunch of white supremacists. And so I wouldn't say I was trying to get involved in any kind of movement or activations or nothing. I just had this big epiphany like, hey man, like this is not cool. This thing, like what we're doing. And I would like talk to people in my community or whatnot. And in my late teens, early 20s, I started really being vocal, like, hey, this doesn't make sense. And all the people I knew would gaslight me, and they're like, "Yeah, no, that's not true, man. We don't do that." And I'm like, "Yeah, we do. We've done it together my whole life. What are you talking about?" And
Yep.
so that really just pissed me off. And then I got in the army, and I started because of that. I really rejected a lot of the way I was raised. I was raised in the church. I learned a lot of my bigotry from the church. I learned a lot of bigotry from home, white supremacy from home. And so when I got into the army, um, I had a lot of conversations with a lot of people, you know, well outside the bubble of the little small rural part of Western North Carolina I came from. And I started realizing there's so many issues out there. You know, I remember very specifically when gay marriage was the topic of the country. And I remember when I changed my stance on it. My family was, you know, baffled and ready to disown me when I said I was going to support gay marriage. Like, what? You know, God's going to send you to hell. I was like, well, that guy's weird. And so, you know, as I went along, I just found more and more. As I went through life, I just learned more and more about how my country oppresses and marginalizes and how many people are. And I remember when George Zimmerman murdered Trayvon Martin, and I watched that whole thing play out, and it just pissed me off. Like, really, really pissed me off how he just got away with it and how it was very, very clearly profiled and very, very clearly escalation on his part, escalation to the point of murder. And then he was found, you know, not guilty. And it really just pissed me off. And it was, you know, a little bit later, a couple, 3 months after the fact, I saw a sign and it said justice for Trayvon and a date and a time, and they're going to march downtown. I said, I'm going to go do that. I don't know what it means or what they're going to do, but I'm just going to go do that. And then I showed up, and there was, this is what, 2013. There was people, you know, that had the same anger I had and had the same emotions I had. And I felt like I had a sounding board in other people, and I wasn't the only one feeling this way. I didn't feel so isolated. And then there was these organizers saying the next march is here, and sign this petition and join this group and do this thing. And I was like, whoa, my people. And, you know, I didn't know these kind of things were even happening in the world around me. And just from there, I really learned that, you know, your voice does matter. You don't have to sit around and be mad all the time. You can do something with it. You can take your you know, purpose, or you can take your, you know, principles and aim them into a direction and create purpose out of it. And over time, I got more and more involved in my community and more involved in the issues I cared about and more involved in trying to be part of the change rather than just sit around and being frustrated at what it is. Because I think it was James Baldwin said, you know, that, you know, being aware, and I don't remember how he worded it exactly, but just being aware in this world is the hardest thing. It makes make you angry to be aware. And
Yep.
that's how I felt for a long time. Was I felt like I get it. I've learned so much through the books I read and the scholars I studied and the things I learned. But what do I do with it? And then I found these people that were out doing something with it. I'm like, wow, you guys are awesome. And from 2013 till now, I just became more and more active. Then 2020 gave me an opportunity to travel the country. during all the protests. Then I traveled the country, worked with a lot of national organizations, got super involved in the Black Lives Matter movement as a lot of and organized across the country. And then I've just been involved. I've always tried to find myself involved because I feel like, especially as I became a father too, I feel like I want to give a little bit better version of the world to my children than the one I inherited. Especially, I would love for that world to be void of white supremacy. I think that if we get to the crux of all of our problems, some people think that I'm oversimplifying, and I'm not. The crux of all of this is white supremacy.
Yep, 100%. Yeah, I dig that. Yeah, I think, am I the only one that hasn't gone? Who else hasn't gone yet? As far as like
you and Vippy, I think.
Vithi, yeah, Vithi, we haven't heard Vithi. What's up, bro? Let's hear from you.
How's it
We got
going?
you on
Hi.
the stream.
So
What's
sorry.
your?
Vithi, Vithi
He's a
needs
little
to take a
bit-
break from just destroying us for a while, is what it is. Yeah, yeah.
I've
Vithi's
been
the only
focused,
like
I've been
person
focused.
that knows what they're doing. Top 500 Overwatch cat here.
Yeah.
So.
Is that the person I see running across my screen and then it just goes dark for a second and suddenly I'm all my life is gone?
Wake up in
could be.
Skyrim.
It's literally happening again. Right as I'm talking about it. I bring this on myself. Sorry, Vippy, please go.
Hi. So what was it? What was you asking? How I got kind of involved in?
Yeah, or if
This whole-
not involved, like what you're about, man. Like,
Yeah,
wanna hear from you,
I don't
man.
consider myself to be an activist, but I do stand with everything that you've spoken for so far. Just in general, like to go way back, first conversation we were having here, like what No Kings means to me and what I think about it is that I think a lot of what America was built on, no matter, how you're politically affiliated, is, having checks and balances of power, having it not centralized, especially not to one single person. It should be like what everyone who is American stands for. And again, like I am, leftist, I am liberal, but regardless of that, it never made sense to me that somebody would want to give a single person so much power and say, and not only that, but like somebody who continuously lies, just like the golden, ticket to say whatever he wants and then retcon it later as he sees convenient.
I like
Absolutely.
the use of retcon too, by the way.
Thank you.
Yeah. That's
Good way to talk
definitely
about
true.
post-truth.
Yeah, that's what it is, man. He's doing a IRL retcon. I almost dropped an F-bomb. Sorry, people.
I feel like I was holding my own for a second there, but then he got me.
Yeah,
Oh,
it be like that.
Look, this might be a bad question to ask because
horrible
now, like,
things are
half of
just
my
horrible
brain
things.
capacity is now going to trying to think of this. But like, are you trying to say that like the way that Trump this administration talks is like when they had Mephistopheles in the freaking like Spider-Man comic, like come down and like retcon Peter's happy wife and happy life, and now he's like depressed again? Like, Spider-Man, right? Like there's a famous comic, they had like a retcon. It's like one day more, one more day. I know one of those is a Les Mis song, but I swear it's like called something like that. But that's like, it's a pretty good analogy, I think.
Yeah, I mean, for sure. It is. I don't know. It's hard to explain. It's just mostly that like he's been known to be, a corrupt businessman. It's what he does. He lies to get his way, and he's just doing
Absolutely.
the same thing, but now
The con
instead of
man,
with
right?
just in the companies that he's in, now with the American people, and it's
Yeah.
a little insane.
Yeah, I think we just need to put him in an Overwatch lobby with you, and then he'll be more humble.
I don't think he'd understand. He'd probably hire someone to try and beat him
What's
anyway.
this? Come on, Elon, fix it.
Come on,
See, we have the
Mercy,
best Overwatch
Mercy.
teams.
It's
I'm
gonna be
sick of your
great.
cat. Oh my god. Get the
Where's
cat
I
out of
can
here.
I can fix it. Oh no, the cat's on my team. Sorry, I can't do anything about it.
Love it. Love it. Keep that
Hey,
going.
Vicky, how bad is your chat flaming us for being not great at this game?
They're supportive. They're mostly interested. They're like, so that's
That's
what it is.
nice.
That's good to hear, dude.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Look,
Yeah, they flame me exclusively, so you're
Jolly's
you are
son is ruthless. He's just hopping around like a little. I don't even know what's going on.
Do they?
Most time he plays that game, he better be.
So Vithi, like on that real quick, to kind of switch topics. Do people, is the cat like something that everyone hates, by the way?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, there's two types of people. There's 99% of people who absolutely despise the cat, and then the 1% that play the cat, right?
Okay. Okay, so I'm that guy. Then is what you're saying is I'm the dude playing the cat right now.
and you're having more fun than anyone else because everybody just doesn't like you.
Yeah, exactly. And I'm cool with that. I'm completely fine with that.
If we ever played Smash Brothers, like I feel like it's like playing Kirby. Like everybody like slams Kirby as being cheap,
No,
which I'm
it's
wearing
not
my
like Kirby.
Kirby. I play Kirby, so I'm just like, but you don't get a pass on the cat because it's
It
just
would be
flying
nice if they
around.
put Aaron
Like
in.
that.
No, it's not like Kirby. I hear you. I like, and you're wearing a Kirby hat, so I feel like you're trying to do some self-promotion here, Glow. And I gotta call you out on that. It's not like Kirby at all. You know what I think it's like? I think Smash Bros is good. I think it's like playing Ganondorf on a on one of those levels that does not have like you can't fall off, right? Like on like Final Destination, not Final Destination, but like one of the ones where like you're playing like a custom map and like it's like just a solid line the whole way, and you're just like destroying everyone in 4v4, even though he's like one of the worst characters in any sort of competitive play. Like that's what it is. That's how annoying the cat is. It's like you turn around and suddenly Logan is behind you holding a flaming greatsword, and you just get sent off the map. Like that's what's happening.
Well,
right?
it's not going to happen now because let me just give the viewers an idea of what happened. Glow just chose the cat out from under me out of spite, and I know her, so I know that's what it was because of. All right, this was a spite cat pick.
Listen,
right?
the hamster's a phenomenal.
It's no problem.
backup.
I'll go into their back
But you
line and
can't have
pull her
them.
into them, and she'll die.
Yeah.
I
Hey,
love
Griffey,
it.
while we got you on the spot, man, when we reached out to you at first, because like we connected through a mutual friend,
Correct.
I straight up heard that you hadn't heard of what No Kings was before this. So like
Correct.
I want to hear right now, like based on what we've told you so far, because we get constantly off topic, which makes sense because we're fighting cats. You know, like what do you think No Kings is? Because like if you're on the stream with us, right? So like it helps give a good base level of knowledge for where everyone else is at. I'm realizing every time I talk like this, I like my view changes rapidly, so I'm getting distracted by that. But every time we like, it gives a good like status quo, like what information we need to give the audience. So like, what do you think No Kings is? And then like, let's see how we can add on to that.
Based on the name and what this entire conversation's been about, I would assume that No Kings is what I was saying earlier, where you can disagree with people, like you can have differing opinions, and worrying about like stepping on people's rights is not okay with me. But regardless of that, is that we don't want a centralized power where one person has all the say and like whatever they say goes. And when he starts using that power in a way that not only harms in parties that should be uninvolved, but hurting the American people themselves, it just gets a bit nonsensical. To where like it's a protest against like, hey, this guy's clearly not trying to play the game by the rules that we have set up ever so intentionally to keep one person from spiraling out of power, to prevent dictatorships, to prevent kings, monarchs. To me, that's what it feels like, and I love that it's like a non-violent protest. It's just letting the people, trying to give power back to the people where it should have stayed the entire time, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I mean that's sort of the basic idea, right? People powered movement. I mean, honestly, like Glow, when I first got introduced to what No Kings was, I think Glow was in the room, well, the chat room with me, and I thought you had a really good handle on like what we're doing and why it's so important. So if you want to speak to that.
By in the room, do you mean like
Dude,
the
talking and playing at the same time is so fucking hard. I
I
can't do it, man.
Oh my
know,
God,
it's
dude.
Why am I on
ridiculous.
Lifeweaver?
I somehow got removed due to inactivity. I think I got focused on trying to like
Oh
explain
shit,
what
I was
going on.
unmuted. I'm so sorry.
No, you can absolutely say fuck, man. It's okay. We
It's
just can't say
okay.
it too much.
I
think there's like
apologize. I did not mean to hot mic anything I just said, and so sorry for interrupting.
I'm
you,
gonna
Glow.
apologize
fine.
to anybody that's like A, not of age, but B, there's like a something else going on, like a company. Like I really apologize us being here and talking the way we're talking, but the Twitch audience is used to it.
Absolutely.
Are they? I don't know.
It's Overwatch. It's a toxic community, I thought, right?
Well,
I've heard
no.
the
For a
gamer
competitive
cat
game, like
community's so toxic.
it's pretty progressive. I've heard, like compared to like a lot of the other ones.
Like COD, where it's just
All the other ones.
Of all the competitive FPS games, it is the best and that is still really bad. It's still really bad. You know, it
I
is
always-
what it is.
Yeah, I think of like, because like I'm used to No Man's Sky, which is known to be like a very wholesome community. You know what I mean? No Man's Sky is. And so it's so funny when I play anything else and like I turn on the chat and I'm like, wow, I'm getting schooled by 12-year-olds right now with horrible language.
The only gamer chat I really know about is chess.com, and they're pretty
Oh hell yeah!
they're pretty like untalkative.
My vote was to play Pocopia, but like that's just full of like cozy gamer girls that don't want to move like off the couch, which is
That's
me.
fair.
Totally understand it. I think that's next on the list because hopefully I won't embarrass myself as badly as I'm embarrassing myself right now. But actually, speaking of Glow, I was asking you, like, what does No Kings mean to you? Like, if you were going to explain it to like someone, like an audience member who's first time hearing about it, is watching Viffy just like strafe and absolutely destroy us, and also Jolly's son. Like, I do not want to like underplay how badly I'm being destroyed by Jolly's kid right now.
Yeah, he's
Oh my
pretty
God.
good.
Yeah,
But, like-
Jolly's kid is he's going off right now.
Yeah.
It's embarrassing.
But yeah, if this is someone's like first
Pretty good.
introduction, Glow, like, what would you say? Like, how would you introduce them to the concept of like what we're doing, like the process itself? You know?
So, well, okay. So first I was gonna answer, there's like a comms answer, and then there's like, what are we doing here answer. So like, which one do you want first?
Yes.
Okay, so the comms answer was like, look, like in terms of like where we were at, like February of last year or March of last year, like there's just a bunch of people on a Reddit page and we were like, what's our slogan? Like 50, okay, we're 50-51, which nobody even knows what that means, but like what are we doing here, right? And like from a comms perspective, sorry, I'm sick. Like a slogan or like a catchphrase or whatever, it has to be like understandable with like very few words. Like MAGA, right? Make America great again, you know. It's like I wish
It
that
doesn't even have to mean anything. You can just say like throw words together.
Well,
Yeah.
I
Look,
think
50
it has
51,
to
right? It
be.
stands for 50 matches, 50 losses, 1 Winston, right? Like
Yeah.
that's what it stands for.
Pretty
Am I
much.
wrong?
Exactly.
But I think, you know, there's two elements. There's like one, you have to have like a good uh like marketing case for it, but then it also does have to coalesce, right? Like it has to also like happen in such a way, which is kind of what happened with No Kings, is it coalesced amongst like the hive mind of people, and then it just kind of made sense because it was already there and it was already a thing that people were doing, and now it's not just a phrase, it represents a coalition and like a large body of people. In terms of like why it's important, I think we already touched on this, but like America inherently was founded upon the principle that like we don't do kings. Now, obviously, the implication is that we're calling Trump a king. And like, is that a defensible position? Like, I think, you know, what we've said is like, do kings
Saved by the Mac.
objectively wage war without congressional authority or, you know, the authority of whatever council they have? And the answer is yes. Like, objectively, you know, do kings view themselves as above authority? Yes. Do kings, you know, I don't know, do all the shit that Trump is doing and, you know, without regard for any other human lives, like, yes. And so, um, but there's a lot of people that aren't really tuned into politics, and it's not necessarily anybody's fault either, right? Like the thing about America that everybody knows, especially millennials, and I'm not ruling out Gen Z, but I do feel like millennials really are the like cusp generation of like, and that's why Bernie really spoke to me, because it was like, you know, you're raised to believe that you're going to go to college, you're going to get a good job, and then it's like, oh wait, I can't live off of minimum wage, and you want me to go $60,000 into debt to get a career? And it's like, oh, I'm like female and Like I'm supposed to have health care, and that includes my, you know, organs that men don't have. And then it's like, oh, well, you can't have that either. So, anyways, the list goes on and on and on and on. And then you grow up like that, and then you have Trump, and then he inherently makes everything worse. So it's like, I think everybody, a lot of people know that by now, but for the like people who are like kind of on the outskirts of this, it's just like really like, what does No Kings represent? It's like whether you agree on every single policy position or not, it's like, do you agree that we should at least have a fabric of democracy to debate these things? And if the answer is yes, then No Kings is for you, you know? Obviously I'm a bleeding liberal, and I'm like an anarcho-feminist and all that fun stuff, but like beyond that, I was raised by Christian conservative parents, which a lot of people were, in my generation. But um, can we as Americans agree that America was like not ever supposed to have a king? Like if we can agree on that, then we can maybe get somewhere. And then we can go back to the other debates, but
Yeah.
let's just start
Kind
with that.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Isn't that kind of the whole idea behind America, right? Like that we don't do kings. Like that's the original, like whether it's 1776 or it's the 1970s and we're watching, I think it's the 70s, right? Someone correct me if I'm wrong, for Star Wars, where like the whole thing is about fighting against the emperor and defeating a king. And like almost every piece of media that's like fundamentally American in some way, at least like the not every piece of media, but a lot of like modern, whether it's like the Hunger Games or it's I mean, literally any young teenage dystopian novel, YA, right? Like it's all about like fighting back, whether peacefully against a authoritarian regime, against a king or a tyrant or an emperor, right? Like even even Game of Thrones, right? They always talk about the Mad King that happened before the story starts, and that's sort of like the fundamental problem. So I totally get the resonance there, but uh, Jolly, when it comes to No Kings, where you do like a lot of like coverage, right? Like you do a lot of social media. I've seen you at protests. I think Logan and I met you at a September 6th, like the Free DC protest back in DC, and then I met you again in DC during the Remove the Regime protest. And I was supposed to meet you in Chicago back in it was either January or February, but then with everything going on, you were in Minnesota with
Right.
Alex after the murders of Alex Preddy, Nicole Good, and broad daylight and cold blood by this administration. After the reign of ICE terror, look like No Kings is a broad tent, but I want to be very clear. After Viffy called himself both a leftist and a liberal, I think it's good to step in. Like we have a broad tent of leftists and liberals. We got also some, anti-Trump conservatives, people who just are against fascism, against tyranny, against corruption. Speaking personally, like I don't see a way out of this where we don't like abolish ICE and replace it with some sort of immigration force based on like humane care and providing like at least following international law and holding everyone responsible who murdered Alex Preddy, who murdered Renee Nicole Good, who put people in those detention camps, right? Um, but Jolly, when it comes to like you from the social media side of No Kings, like covering, being involved in these protests, like what's some stories that really have impacted you? Like what keeps you going, whether it's something good or something bad that you saw from this from good from the protesters or bad you saw from the administration? Because I know you were on the ground in Minnesota. I know you've been on the ground during the No Kings protest, man.
Yeah, I mean, I've been all over, and like people always motivate me. Just watching communities come together, watching people stand up. I mean, you talk about Minneapolis, the Twin Cities, and just being out there and watching how they responded to this occupation of their state. It is powerful. They said no king. They said not today. They said ice out. They showed no shame. I landed. Renee Nicole Good was murdered on January 7th, and I landed in Minneapolis January 10th, 3 days later. And I heard before I ever even got there that there was a ongoing protest that had started at the Whipple Federal Building. And I knew where the Whipple Federal Building was from my time in Minneapolis from 2020 and 2021 post George Floyd. And So as soon as I landed, I went to the hotel, dropped my bags, and went immediately to Whipple Federal Building to join the ongoing protests. It was already a little bit dark, and when I got there, I was there 20 minutes, and DHS and ICE came out and shot us with pepper balls, threw frag,
Oh, I remember
threw
that stream.
yeah, it was
Yeah.
intense. They threw flashbang grenades at us, and they tear gassed us pretty heavy. And what happened next is kind of a microcosm of what happened the entire time I was in Minneapolis, and that is they tear gassed everybody, they pepperballed everybody, and by the way, those pepper balls hurt like a son. And one of the flashbangs actually, when it exploded, because they were throwing it right into groups of people, the shrapnel from it went up one of the reporters' eyes. You could see like metal all up her face. It was really bad. And as soon as they stopped shooting and stopped, and they were just standing there in the road, all the protesters that had kind of spread, like obviously it's your natural instinct to run away from that shit as it's happening. As soon as they stopped firing tear gas and as soon as they stopped shooting at us, all the protesters got right back online in front of them. We're not quitting. We're not going anywhere. We're not walking away. We're not going home. And that was time and time and time again. I watched people in Minnesota because I don't want to just say Minneapolis. There was people from all over Minnesota that had drove down to stand with the Twin Cities. You had Minneapolis and St. Paul there. And just seeing Minnesotans just say we're not going to back down. And I'm going to tell you, being being in Chicago, and I was on the ground with Pilsen Defense Group that was providing, rapid response to ICE in the Pilsen neighborhood and the rapid response in the Cicero neighborhood and stuff like that. And being out at Broadview detention facility, being on the No Kings protest and talking to people on the ground there, occupying DC while ICE and the guard was out there, and just traveling all around the country, going to LA, talking to people out there. I'm going to tell you the one common thread, and that is there are a lot more of us than there are of them. There's a
Yeah.
lot of people that are mad, that are angry, that are fed up with what's happening. And as soon as we can get everybody to come together in a sustained movement, all the energy, all that not back down resistance that I know is out there because I've witnessed it firsthand, because I've recorded it firsthand, all that anger and resistance and power of the people, once we get everybody to aim it in one direction, we win this thing. So I tell you, my takeaway from it is one word: hope. I have a lot of hope for the American people.
Yeah. Dude, hope's so important, right? Like I wasn't there in Minneapolis, so I was just watching from the sides. Although I was at a pretty small protest in Los Angeles at the time. In response, I think it was ICE Out for Good. A couple different organizations organized it, like DSA, PSL, a whole bunch of different groups. Got tear gas there, been tear gas 3 times over the past 6 months. Um, but that tends to happen at the smaller protests, at the ones where like they have people like all separated. It's smaller, it's more rapid response. That's when it tends to get more antsy. But kind of that's the whole point of No Kings and why we do this, why we organize, right? It's about hope. It's about,
Thanks, 50.
as Glow said, coalescing, which is I'm now just learning that's why it's called a coalition. I did not put those pieces together. Thank you, Glow. Um, like there's so much that happens around us, right? Like even in just talking about Oxprey and Renee Nicole Good, like we forget that even just a couple days earlier on December 31st and January 1st, right? Like literally during New Year's Eve's in LA, a guy named Keith Porter Jr. was shot and killed, and I'm pretty sure murdered by an off-duty ICE agent. And then again on January 2nd, January 3rd, around then, they found Geraldo Campos dead in an ICE detention camp in, I think, called Camp East Montana in Texas. Um, ICE claimed, DHS claimed that like they found him in medical distress, and later they claimed that he himself was the reason why he was no longer with us. But those turned out not to be true. Like that's not what happened, and it turns out like the actual report was pretty clear that someone hurt him, someone killed him, I'm going to be honest, I think that was ICE, right? And then like at the same time that's happening, we have Venezuela, and then we have the war in Iran, and then we have all different legislative attempts like the SAVE Act to take away the rights of women, to take away the rights of married women, take away the rights of trans people to vote, take away the rights of a whole bunch of people who don't have every form of identification that you could possibly get in this country to vote. Um, but at the same time, like that's why we're here. That's why we're standing up. That's why we're peacefully fighting back. That's why No Kings 328 is just the third iteration of the largest single day protest in American history. Over 5 million people at one time on June 14th, 7 million on October 18th, and hopefully we're shooting for more this time. But we'll have to see how it goes. The Logan, we actually have a question in the chat, which you might know more on than I do. I believe it's from Nintendo Pro 3. It says, I have a question. What's the status with Section 230 in COSA? Can you speak to that?
230 in COSA. Ooh, God.
It's one of those legislations trying to take away some people's rights and access, right? Remember correctly,
God.
the
Yeah.
COSA?
Yeah. So are you talking about Kid Online Safety Act? Is that what we're
I believe
talking
that's
about?
the one, right? It's kind of like right to work, right? Where they say it's one thing, but it's kind of another.
Yeah, so if I remember correctly, this is the one where it's basically they're trying to get child labor back. Am I correct?
I think
no?
it's the one where they're trying to like take away access to like any information about gay rights or
Oh God.
it's that one, right? Like hold on, I'm
Yeah.
gonna look away from the game where I'm losing anyways pretty badly and just check to see which one's going on there.
You're
Let's see.
welcome.
Well, actually, Glow, or even calling in. I know you're on tech right now, but we got some of our tech people here who can speak more to that. Anyone able to directly talk to COSA while I just do some quick research to make sure I'm not putting a foot in my mouth while getting destroyed?
You could just keep getting destroyed. It's fine.
Yeah. Oh yeah, no. Okay, this is the right one. It's one of the bad internet bills, right? Like under the Don't Delete Art movement. Like we're looking at, for example, taking away access to like needed information about healthcare and human rights and helping people realize that they're not alone. They're not the only one in like their small town or their community. It's like trying to like not letting them like fully express themselves. Yeah, that's the bill. I'm not a policy. I'm more of a nerd about national security and I'm a nerd about like immigration rights and about foreign policy more than I am about digital safety. So I could be wrong here. But from my understanding, the COSA Act is another one of those examples of a bill that is designed to sneakily further take away people's rights. It may not be as extreme as the SAVE Act. It's targeted more towards kids who are just trying to, understand themselves and the world around them and why they might be different from someone else. But any attempt to try to like that's one of the beautiful things about America, right? And if anyone wants to hop in here, like Lo, Vivi, Diogenes, about like how diversity, how difference, how not all just being the same really helps make this country have a brighter future, and about how this administration wants to either make everyone the same, or if they can't do that, try to get rid of people who are different from them.
I think pretty much any time in history that we've had an organization that tries to how to demonize people based off of things that they can't control, like their genetics, their race, their identity. It's never been a good look. It constantly goes down in history as like, this was an inherently evil organization. This was inherently, misguided organization and someone that was tricked by, one person trying to gain power rapidly. Having a diverse and you know a well educated even group against Trump, I think speaks volumes that, we are trying to do what's best for a majority of people. We are trying to do what's best based off of like individuals' thoughts and inputs
Bye,
versus just
Logan.
blindly following one person.
Absolutely.
If I could add to that too, real quick. Also, I gotta say that I'll have to dip because I gotta go help my wife with some stuff. But I'll close
Totally
out on
good,
this.
man.
Yeah, I'll close out on this thought though. I've always, ever since I told you my story in my teenage years, and I really started waking up to like what my country really was, and then my understanding of my country grew as I was in the army, and I really when I got overseas and I participated in these forever wars and these occupations, I really opened my eyes to what my country really is. And when you talk about diversity, you talk about having a diverse group versus Trump. The fact of the matter is, what Trump and Hegseth and his entire regime slash administration is truly an example of what America has been at its underbelly since the beginning. You know, when they wrote that Constitution, it was
100%.
it was white men. You know, that's what they meant by all men were created equal. It was white men, specifically landholding men, and you know, Malcolm X said it best in the '60s. If the Constitution was written for everybody, you wouldn't need special amendments for Black people. And you know, it's really always been this system of white supremacy that has never been held accountable. The system of white supremacy where we never put as much time, money, effort, and resources into overturning it as we did in creating it. And so when I've always said, hey man, we need a new constitution that is more inclusive of everybody. There needs to be equity, not just equality. There needs to be this, you know, everybody needs to have a seat at the table. And I think a lot of people have been having that conversation. Why doesn't everybody have a seat at the table? And then when you sit and look at this dichotomy that we currently are in, you see one side, which is like you pointed out, diverse and educated and more representative, I think, of our population. And then you see this other side that's just this unseasoned cup of vanilla. And like that is Christian nationalism. This is what they've been pushing for. This is what white replacement theory tells them. This is what their Jim Crow, their version of Jesus. I call it Jim Crow Jesus. This is what he tells them, which is that, you know, save white America. If it ain't white, it ain't right. And when I hear people say things, oh, I can't believe ICE is doing this. I can. We let police do it to Black and brown people for how long? And now you're just surprised that it's happening to white people. Like, unfortunately, this country, to quote Malcolm X one more time, the chickens have come home to roost. And I think that when this is all said and done, and when, not if, but when we defeat fascism, when we find ourselves on the other side of this, the fight is not over because we must not ever return to the status quo. It is time, finally, once and for all, to reverse the policies of white supremacy this country's long been standing on, to have everybody have a seat at the table, to have a constitution and a government that represents everybody. This thing needs to be done totally different. The status quo must end. White supremacy must be held accountable, and America must truly be a country for all. I appreciate you guys having me. I think what you're doing is great. I think including the gamer community into a conversation that may not be commonly happening on the gamer side of the world is a great thing. And when you do this again, I'm happy to join you again. Keep up the great work. And again, thanks for including me.
Thanks for coming.
Thank you, Jolly. Appreciate you as always, brother.
Thanks,
Thank
Jolly.
you, man.
Thank you all. And nice to meet you all as well.
Awesome.
Great talking to you, man. Thank you so much. Dropping the mic on your way out. It's wild.
Yeah, love it. Love it.
I actually want to hit on, I want to hit on something he was saying because, like, you know, right, we're talking to like an audience that maybe hasn't heard a lot of these ideas the same way that we've heard them a lot in organizing spaces, right? Talking about white supremacy, talking about decentering ourselves, talking about like just the history of racism and Jim Crow in this country and about what we need to do to stand up and fight back against that. Because if we truly believe that everyone's equal, like we cannot stand for that. And I kind of want to connect it to something that like it took, you know, like I'm a white guy, right? So to be honest, so is Jolly. And sometimes it took a while to like get some of those ideas in our head. There was this movie. They made me watch it in college, and I'm about to give you guys pain right now. It was Fight Club, actually, and I remember watching it after right after Trump won, and I had to watch it for a class on political theory and political theory movies. And there's this line about like, you know, we were told that we'd be rock stars, millionaires, or businessmen, and like we'd have a great life. But like that wasn't true. Like the American dream, like it's not true, and like we're really pissed off. And like there's an element of that, right? Because like when it's there's multiple truths happening at the same time. One of them is that no matter who you are, if you're worth less than $1 billion in this country, this administration is trying to make your life worse, right? Like, no matter what, they're trying to take away workers' rights. They're trying to take away labor rights. They're trying to take away immigrant rights. They're promoting laws that are explicitly designed to make things more expensive for you so that you can't own anything, and trying to make it harder for you to get ahead because they want to keep the money not trickling down. They want the money to keep on concentrating up into the top, right up in the billionaire class. A few people profiting off the rest of us, starting what eventually would be called techno-feudalism if people like Curtis Yarvin, Peter Thiel, and the vice president get their own way, right? But at the same time, I can look at that and say, like, this is the way this administration is trying to make my life worse because I'm not worth $1 billion, right? Like, I make like 27 an hour maybe on a good day. But at the same time, this, I can also look at it and see like the way that it's attacking immigrant rights and women's rights and the rights of black and brown people, the rights of literally everyone in this country, right? If you are at all different from the straight white male norm that they are trying to keep in power, they're using that as a angle to attack every working people, every single person who works in this country, right? Like they're trying to tear apart families. They're trying to turn neighbors against each other. They're trying to use like my whiteness as a way to get me to fight against my brothers and sisters who are immigrants, who are trans people, who are non-binary people, who are gay people, who are who look differently from me or believe something different than I do. They're taking those wedge issues and they're trying to get you upset about trans people and women's sports. They're trying to get you upset about immigrants having jobs. When immigrants are the ones taking your jobs, trans people are the people taking your health care. The only minority you have to fear in this country is the billionaire class. The people funding this administration, the people that put them in power and will put the next guy in power who will be even younger and even worse. If we don't stand up together peacefully, protest against it, organize, and help take down those pillars of power that are holding up those billionaires, that are holding up this administration. And that takes recognizing the struggles of your fellow working people across race, across class, across identity. Because fundamentally, it's we the people versus the wannabe kings of this country, not just the current king, but the kings funding him. And I think it's really important to understand that all of our struggles are connected and that we need to have solidarity so that no one's left behind. Because if they fully take away the rights of trans people, fully take away the rights of immigrants, that's one less group of people standing alongside you, making our side weaker, making our side less likely, less able to stand up and help you protect your rights and the rights of everyone else that you know. We're all in this together. No one is going to be free until all of us are free. And that's why No Kings is such a big tent. That's why you see flags. The most common flag I see at a No Kings isn't just an American flag. It's half American flag, half Mexican flag, right? You see Palestinian flags, Ukrainian flags. You see gay rights flags. You see Palestinian rights flags. You see people showing off not just what they're upset about, but also their hope, also their joy, also what makes them. I'm going to be removed for inactivity. What makes us stronger working together? Sorry, I went on a bit of a rant there, but what Jolly said really inspired me. And that
Hey,
kind of leads,
Hunter. Oh,
yeah,
sorry.
that leads to how do young people get involved. And Glow, you've been great at activating people. Can you talk about a little bit about political revolution and what it does, Paul Rev?
Oh, sorry. I just got slammed into a wall. Yeah, I can talk about that. Just really quick, you touched on something that I think people like would care about, like Peter Thiel and the technocracy, and techno feudalists that are like controlling us. Like there's a pretty deep rabbit hole on this, but like if people don't know who Peter Thiel is, you should definitely look him up. He's the owner of Palantir. He also created a founders fund which like owns or has investments in like 30 to 50 other companies, Spotify, PayPal, a lot of those other things. And he also helped fund a lot of political campaigns, including JD Vance, was also a top political donor for Donald Trump. So it's like on one hand, like we want to respect everyone's beliefs, and I would just, or me personally, I would highly encourage people to look at like just follow the money, you know, like look at how and who is invested in keeping people divided, and that will kind of show you exactly what we're dealing with, because it's also the same people that are funding or defunding, certain government agencies, lobbying against certain policies, defunding healthcare, everything that really actually benefits a large amount of people. So I just wanted to touch on that briefly. And that actually is a great lead into political revolution because even though, well, okay, I guess I'll start off with we have elections this year. Um, and part of No Kings, I um I feel like is to actually defend our democracy, which does include free and fair elections. We have a right as citizens to free and fair elections, and um the work that I personally do, and part of the reason I found a political revolution was to find people who will fight for that, as well as progressive policy issues. But right now, it's like honestly, we're fighting for the basics. We're fighting for elections, period. So highly encourage people, check your voter registration, check when primaries are in your state. Make sure you know um, your voter registration status, and then just vote. It is important, even though it doesn't seem like it, or like some people may tell you that it's not. Like that's the like beyond exercising your your First Amendment right to free speech, which is what we're doing here with No Kings. The other right you have is to vote, and there are young people and everyday people, doctors, administrators, like just like everyday people that are running for office that actually care about the fabric of our democracy, that want it to succeed. And um
Yeah,
yeah, I don't know,
absolutely, Glow.
we need those people, and we need people to vote for them. So
Yeah, we need a lot of different ways, right? We need. I know Dio could talk at length about immigrant and community right defense. I know Logan could frankly, talk about everything. He's pretty flexible. He knows like a lot about every part of this resistance. I could talk a lot about organizing with 5051, trying to get in that infrastructure and movement building work. I know Viffy could talk a lot about. I'm hoping Viffy's getting some really cool ideas about this, about how to connect gaming or social media advocacy with sprinkling in some political commentary, helping moving people towards getting mobilized. But I do want to bring it back before we leave, because we're definitely starting to wind down now.
Yeah.
Is to why it's so important that we all show up on March 28th. Why it's so important that we all get involved with No Kings. Why it's so important that we all get involved in our local communities. In under 60 seconds, what is each of your guys' pitches? Let's go to Dio first.
I think the biggest thing is that community exists. You just have to organize it.
Yep.
Everybody is there. There is a volunteer force. There is friends. There's family that you can make within that, that you can meet within that. And there is a strength with that number. Um, Another thing, too, is that everybody kind of feels alone in their fight. But once you actually start organizing, you start going to these things and you start meeting people, you realize that you're not.
Absolutely, man. What about you, Logan?
Yeah, I'm a big proponent of saying that everyone can do something, right? Like there's a place for everyone, right? Because I think that we can all get caught up, or at least I can get caught up in the idea of like you have to do all the things all the time and dedicate, 80 hours a week to the work. And that's not true, right? So what you can do is a few things. One is check out your local orgs, and it doesn't just not just 5051, like please move on, ACLU, Indivisible, all these people are doing great, amazing work, helping out countless Americans, immigrant orgs, as well. The other thing I'll say is please get involved in mutual aid within your community. If you don't know what mutual aid is, just think of it as people helping people. There are groups out there. Sunrise is one of the bigger kind of national ones, but there are other groups as well, that are more localized. I really encourage everyone to just get involved, find your niche, whether it's online playing video games, feeding people that are hungry, getting involved in any of the immigrant rights and advocacy groups. We need it all. And one last thing, because we are coming up right now on midterms, I'm really going to encourage anyone and everyone to get involved in any type of democracy defense. If you don't know what that is, or get out the vote. If you don't know what that is, please just reach out to any of the orgs I mentioned. Once again, of course, 5051, but more so, you also got Move On, Indivisible, all those are great. And I do want to give a big shout out to, before I end, to our other national partners, Voices
Absolutely.
of Florida, who have done a lot of awesome work with reproductive rights. And they've been on the front line down in the South in Florida. And make no mistake, anything that happens in the South, anything that happens in Florida, that's the right testing what they can get away with. So any of the groups that have been in the South operating realize that they also, there's great movement down there. They're really fighting the fight. But also just realize that's the front lines, right? So please reach out to any of those orgs.
Yeah. Hey, that's absolutely important. I know it's not like a thing that people talk about a lot, but registering to vote and getting people to also make sure that our elections are free and fair are super important, right? It doesn't really matter who you want to vote for, who you believe in, when it comes to making sure that people's voices are heard and that they're actually heard and not suppressed by some weird quirk because someone owns a voting system. Uh, what about you, Vivi? Like we've talked a lot about getting involved in like a broader sense, but like what kind of sticks out to you about like what it means to get involved in something like No Kings, whether we're having fun on Twitch stream or more importantly, whether we're getting out there on 328.
I think it's important just to show, that you stand with the movement and getting like I've never been one to be an activist. I've never gotten out there and been active and been like, politically open. So I think this is a good first step for me. So first of all, thank you so much for having me. And it's really, really difficult for like me to find movements like this that aren't, online because I live in Texas. I live in a very, conservative state. I mean, I'm not kidding. Just today, I was on my way home from work, and there was a truck with a picture of Trump slapped onto his window, and I don't know why.
Bro.
It was.
But don't forget, you got Trump. You're the one with Trump derangement syndrome. Sorry, Vithi, I threw you off there. Yeah, yeah.
It was. Yeah, it was. It was really interesting. It wasn't like on the back window either. It was like as if he was in his like back seat. I really don't know. I was just like,
I'm in pain, man.
Yo, I remember I had that on during Biden. You didn't have that, bro? Same thing with Obama. I switched it
no,
out.
I missed the
what are you
Biden
saying?
sticker.
Sorry,
I
let's
missed
let
the
Vivi
Biden
finish. I'm so sorry, man.
Oh no, it's just I don't know. It's seeing so many people that like again stand and vote with this man. I think and the crazy thing is I think a lot of people don't actually understand what he is doing or what he stands for. I think oftentimes many of Trump's votes were probably just like he's conservative. I'm conservative. I vote that. Like there's a lot of loud noise of like, oh yeah, I stand with Trump no matter what he says. But at the end of the day, I think a lot of people who actually voted for him don't know what he's about.
Yeah, the education aspect, right? Because like people, people can be tricked really easily through billion-dollar propaganda machines to vote against their own interests, right? Encouraging people not even to vote the way that you think, but just to do the research and understand what they're voting for, what they're voting against, and like what people are hiding. Like I think if every single person knew what Project 2025 was, we wouldn't be in this mess. But it is what we're in this mess now. And we got to find a way out of it, though. Just like I need to find a way out of. Nope, I lost. Glow, what's your 60-second pitch for why people need to show up on 328?
Oh God. Sorry, I'm trying to think of like what would actually resonate with people. Like, so you can spend your Saturday decompressing from the horrors of your like capitalistic wage slavery, or you could possibly like go outside, like grab a water bottle, get some fresh air, and go to one of these events. And like I think the thing is that like a lot of people associate, or there's the potential to associate like a protest with like, oh, I've got to be super angry. And like people should be angry, but if you're not there yet, that's okay too. Like, um, I think it's kind of like, if you don't already have, but if you had a, a brother that's an immigrant, or you have, a mom or a sister, and like, like really basically try to imagine that your best friend or your family member's rights are being taken away, and show up, for that. And if nothing else, like show up for yourself, because like this impacts everybody, you know. Free and fair elections, if they take those away, there's no way that anybody is gonna be able to have their voice heard ever again. And like the man has been quoted saying, oh, if you vote for me, you'll never have to vote again. So if that sounds a little ridiculous, to show up in 328, You know, it doesn't even have to be for a long time. You can just show up. Usually people have snacks too. That's my last peg is like
Yeah,
That's
there's
an
free
important.
snacks.
I heard there's a mom that has snacks somewhere.
Yeah, there's somebody. I don't
There's
know.
a lot of moms. They may not all be moms, but they're all moms, and they all have snacks.
Yep, that's real.
Yeah, and if you see a red and you're feeling a little bit hot, like a little bit sunburned, you see someone with a red cross on the back of theirs, or like a white, like wearing like a medic uniform. Like there's a lot of people out there. It's not just snacks. Make sure you eat food. Make sure you drink water. Make sure you stay hydrated. And if you're not feeling well, at almost every protest, there are a good amount of people who are there with some medical expertise who can help you out. But Glow, I think that's a great pitch about no one's free till we're all free. We all got to work together and stand together. I mean, my own personal thing, and I think we've hit everyone else. So I'll say mine. At the end of the day, this is about solidarity, right? Like it's about getting people out there in large numbers to show that we, the people, do not stand for this regime, do not stand for what's doing. We stand for no kings in America. No matter what other causes bring us out there, that's the fundamental point that we're all pushing towards. But then once we're there, we can meet with people, we can form groups, we can join groups like Logan said, like ACLU, like 5051, like Move On, like Indivisible, like immigrant rights groups, like Churla, like everything and many things you haven't heard of, probably many groups I haven't heard of. Have an opportunity to get to know them and get involved. Because once you're there, and you can go to nokings.org to sign up. Well, you don't even have to sign up, but you can go there, you can find your event, you can RSVP for it if you want to. But either way, you can get your boots on the ground on 328. You can get involved. And once you make that connection with one of those groups, once you start showing up to their meetings, that effort, that impact of you helping out with election defense or immigrant rights defense or mutual aid or other types of organizing over the days, weeks, months, and years, that's the sort of power up, for lack of a better term, that this resistance needs. That impact carried out over years, getting involved and being a part of a special community by doing it, is what we need to stand up for all of our rights. Because we don't use them while we still have them, we won't have them for much longer. So, No Kings, 328. Over 3,000 events nationwide and even more in places around the world. Someone just told me we have one in the Arctic Circle now, which is super cool.
Amen.
Hell yeah.
All right. With that, are we at close?
I think we are.
Hey,
I don't think I won a single match.
I know I didn't. I just know I annoyed people with the cat. First and foremost, thank you, everyone. Thank you to our partners at Toolbox for Change, Voices of Florida, Move On, ACLU, Indivisible. Everybody that's come together, Common Defense. I know they're up in there in the coalition as well. I know I'm missing a bunch of people. Yeah, God, all the unions. Oh my God. I can't believe I forgot all the unions.
Hey,
Thank
don't
you,
forget
everybody.
Public Citizen, man.
Oh, Public Citizen. Oh my God. Public Citizen. Huge shout out to my homie Jonah. CTU, Chicago Teachers Union, AFL-CIO, NEA, AFT, all of our labor friends front line in it. We love you guys. Thank you so much.
Promise you guys, those acronyms do mean stuff.
Yeah, they absolutely do. Yeah, and if you don't know, you should know. These are awesome labor orgs that are community based. I can't sing these people's praises enough. These are real life, in my opinion, real life American heroes, right? They're working class heroes fighting for the American working class on a regular basis, fighting for our neighbors, our undocumented and immigrant brothers and sisters and siblings out there. Super grateful to you all. Thank you for having us. So that's all I got.
Not to mention the HRC, right? That's why we're all here. Human Rights
Coalition. Big up Human Rights Coalition. Cool.
But seriously, for those of you on Twitch, YouTube, Discord, watching me get absolutely destroyed, watching Logan as a cat, watching Glow actually be pretty competent if I was paying attention, watching Dio, Viffy, and Jolly Sun just completely destroy the two of us. Thank you all for joining us, and I hope we see you guys in the streets on 328.
Yeah. Thank you. See you there, folks.